Excellent. Today is Tuesday, September the 7th, and we're starting out with a video, hopefully. Let's see how this works. Where did it go? Here, I guess. Open it up. Hopefully you'll be able to hear this. You should be able to hear it. Can you hear it?
No, sir.
You cannot hear it? Why not?
It might be because you have your headphones on.
No, but I don't know if I thought I was hearing it through the machine. Let me go back. Take your suggestion. Otherwise, I'll come up with another idea. Can you hear
that? Can you play it again?
I'm sorry?
Is it playing?
Yeah, it was. Let me get the volume up. Volume's up. Did you hear that?
No, sir.
That's the cat.
Yeah, I heard the cat.
Let me get my earphones back on. Okay, I have the volume all the way up. Screen is being paused. Did you hear that?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to do something else. Let me go to stop share. Let me go to microphones. Oh, you know what? I know what it does. When it starts playing this, it cuts off the camera. The camera has the microphone in it. So I'll bring back my normal microphone. I can find the connection, which oh. I may have solved it right here. Somehow the microphone was on mute. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I wonder if that was the issue. Simple, I don't know how that happened, but all right, we'll go back to microphone USB audio codec. That's the one. You can still hear me, right?
Yes, sir. Burly, but I could still hear you.
Oh, okay. I'll start talking and see if the volume goes up. Does it go up now? Yep. Okay. So let's go back to share screen. Did you hear that?
No, sir.
Damn. All right, well, let me take my headphones off, see if that makes a difference. No, can't hear that, right?
No.
Okay, so. I gotta solve this problem.
You know, I'm so glad I never got involved with you. I just would have ended up being some woman you had to get up out of bed and leave at 3 o'clock in the morning and go clean your andirons. And you don't even have a fireplace. Not that I would know this. Why are you getting so upset?
Can you hear any of that?
Yes, sir. I can hear it.
Is it clear?
Yes.
All right, we have a go. We have a go. All right, Palom's gonna join us here. Okay, Paloma, you can hear us?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm trying to show this video because I love it. It's great for this chapter. Oh, Caitlin's joining us. Okay, now I think we're ready to go. We are recording. So here we go.
You know, I'm so glad I never got involved with you. I just would have ended up being some woman you had to get up out of bed and leave at 3 o'clock in the morning and go clean your andirons. And you don't even have a fireplace. Not that I would know this. Why are you getting so upset? This is not about you. Yes, it is. You are a human affront to all women, and I am a woman. Hey, I don't feel great about this, but I don't hear anyone complaining. Of course not. You're out the door too fast. I think they have an okay time. How do you know? I mean, how do I know? I know. Because they. Yes, because they. How do you know that they're really? What are you saying? That they fake orgasm? It's possible. Get out of here. Why? Most women at one time or another have faked it. Well, they haven't faked it with me. How do you know? Because Right, that's right. I forgot. You're a man.
What is that supposed to mean?
Nothing. It's just that all men are sure it never happens to them, and most women at one time or another have done it, so you do the math.
You don't think that I can tell the difference?
Oh. Ooh.
You okay?
Oh. Oh, God. Ooh, oh, God. Oh. 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 Oh, God. Oh, you're right there. Oh. 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 Oh, God. Oh, yes. 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 Oh. Oh, yes. 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 Oh. Yes. 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 Oh. 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 Oh, God. Oh.
I'll have what she's having.
All right. Okay. That is content. So what'd you think, guys? I thought that was pretty funny myself. Since we're on the subject of sexual arousal and response, that video is.
Sir, we could barely hear you.
Oh, could you hear the video though?
Yeah, we heard the video. Well, at least I did, but we could barely hear you.
Okay, let me see what's wrong with my situation. Let's go back to. Come on. Okay, now you can hear me better. Apparently not. Okay, how about now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I have an option of changing microphones. I have an option of changing cameras. And I have my GoPro with me, and I was trying to shoot the television camera. Well, normally I do it the way I just did it, which is better because it's directly into your screen. So I was having some issues with it. Oh, okay. That video is one I always like to show when we talk about sexual arousal and response. So that's a chapter 6 video. All right, where we are on our own selves. I notice most people have not taken the test. Today is Tuesday. Isn't today like the last day you can take the test?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I mean, you have the whole day. So do any of you need study guide questions answered that you weren't able to get through your reading? Or
I'm good, thank you.
everybody's good? Okay. All right, well, that's a good thing because I'm tired of talking about that chapter. So anyway, we're on to a new and exciting chapter, which I might be able to get to if I can get through all of my various camera connections here. All right. Really don't like these glasses very much. Okay. Sexual arousal and sexual response in human beings are influenced by many factors. Our brain's capacity to create images and fantasies, our emotions, various sensory processes, hormones, the nature of the relationship between partners, and a host of other influences. So obviously, human sexual response is very complicated. It's not limited to just a few things. So I like this section on cultural variations in sexual arousal. It starts out saying biological mechanisms underlying human sexual arousal and response are essentially universal because you're focusing on the physicality of it. The mental part is diverse. In Western societies in which the emphasis during sexual activity tends to be heavily weighted towards reaching orgasm. Some of you listening to that or having read it might have said to yourself, well, yeah, what else is it directed towards unless you're having children? I mean, sexual activity tends to be heavily weighted towards achieving orgasm. Did that take anybody by surprise besides me? Why do people have sex?
Because they're cochinos, sir.
Cochino! I love it. I love it. Okay. Why do married people have sex?
Unfortunately, to bring children into the world.
And that's it?
Yeah.
Híjole. All right. Well, many people have sex because it's pleasurable. And you can have sex and pleasure without orgasming, but as the little video showed us, that is generally viewed as the end point of sexual activity. The end game, the end point is one or both have an orgasm. And this is a bias that we have in the Western Hemisphere. Other countries look at sexual activities differently. and orgasm may or may not happen, and it's not the most important thing to happen. So that is quite a here's a statement about Asian societies, spiritual traditions of Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, in which the primary goal of arousal of sexual, but the primary goal of sexual interaction is not the achievement of orgasm, but an extension of sexual arousal for long periods of time, often over a period of hours. So most people in the Western Hemisphere here do not practice that kind of sexual arousal. And it is, of course, societal based. In many non-Western societies, some African cultures, female orgasm is either rare or completely unknown. Well, we took a brief look at female genital mutilation, which occurs mostly in Northern Africa. Well, it's pretty easy to understand why women would not be orgasming if somebody is, ripped off their clitoris. Pretty obvious why they wouldn't be enjoying sex very much. In the U.S., ethnically influences on sexual responses, and its effect is evident in female orgasm rates. In this study, which was from when? 94? 33% of Black women reported that they always have an orgasm during sexual interaction with their primary partner, and 26% of white American women, and yay, Hispanic women, 34%. So, and things that we find sexually arousing, like kissing on the mouth, a universal source of sexual arousal in our Western society, is rare or absent in many other parts of the world. So what we should be thinking is that sexual arousement and sexual pleasure is definitely influenced by culture. I think we talked about, maybe, I'm not sure where this came up, but we're talking about in some Arab communities, men greet themselves with either kisses on the cheek, but sometimes kisses on the lips. And we as Americans would find that distasteful. And I don't know what Arab practices about kissing their loved ones when they're intimate, whether that's a big part of that or not. The kind of kissing was found to be present. Let's see, what time? Gotta back up. Hindu people of India are also disinclined to kiss because they believe that such contact symbolically contaminates the act of intercourse. Okay. In their study of 168 cultures, these authors found no evidence that romantic or sexual mouth kissing is a universal sexual human behavior. Now, when you hear that, doesn't that seem odd to you? It's hard. If I were to be in a culture where kissing was not practiced, it wasn't looked upon as a intimate activity between loved ones, I'd have a hard time living in that culture. Researchers found the more socially complex cultures were more likely to have a higher frequency of romantic or sexual kissing. Now, isn't that interesting? The more socially complex cultures like ours, as opposed to, you know, living in the Amazon jungle. Here's another diversity issue. For instance, although some island cultures attach erotic significance to the shape and texture of female genitals, most Western societies do not. We have in this chapter a nice picture, lateral view of the brain, showing some of the components to the limbic system. And the limbic system is responsible for our emotions in our brain. And as you can see, it involves even more than the 5 parts of the brain that are mentioned in this little diagram that's in the hardcover of the book. It's on page 143. I don't have the digital copy up to tell you, but it includes the cerebral cortex. Duh, that's where the thinking, the evaluation, thinking, that's higher order thinking. Cerebral cortex is higher order thinking. It also involves the hypothalamus, which is kind of a police officer that directs traffic. The amygdala and the hippocampus and the cingulate gyrus. But there's actually more than those parts too. So the limbic system is not a particular part. It's a system of parts in the brain that's responsible for our emotional states and our evaluation states. Obviously, if somebody holds up a banana, points it at you, that doesn't concern you. If somebody picks up a gun and points it at you, that's going to concern you. So there's a cognitive process, which is the higher order on the cerebral cortex, and then there's all these emotional components as well. The limbic system seems to play an important part in determining sexual behavior, both in humans and in other animals. So obviously other animals have. Now that's an interesting point when we think about comparing humans to non-human sexual behavior. The one thing that really there's a couple things that distinctly are privileged to us as human beings. Human beings understand time and intent. So speaking of the limbic system, one way that we can communicate our desire to have sexual relations with someone, we go through all these cultural things that we do. In the Western Hemisphere here, that might include special food, flowers, somebody puts on a particular type of music, somebody greets you at the door in bedroom attire. There's all sorts of things that we do to mentally set the stage that somebody's interested in having sex and getting this whole limbic system fired up for that occasion. And unlike a lot of animals, nothing between humans has to be, there's no condition precedent that has to be there in order for sexual, let's just talk about intercourse, for sexual intercourse to occur. Other animals, there is. Other animals, there has to be a certain color of organs. There is a certain odor that has to be produced. And we all know about pheromones, and most animal culture do not participate in sexual intercourse for pleasure. They participate in sexual intercourse because it is necessary for surviving, pushing the species forward into the future. Because without sexual intercourse, the species will die. So it is a survival behavior. It's not participated for fun and recreation. We as humans do that. One reason is because we understand that sex is more than just procreation, even if it is Oshino. I love that. Anyway, yeah, I've heard that a few times. Anyway, we can plan, we understand the future, we understand that having sex could mean having children, or having protected sex means we reduce the rate of possibility of having children. We understand all these things. Animals don't. And if there, like I said, if there are not certain things present, then sexual intercourse won't happen. And when you look at different species, sometimes it becomes very comical. As you know, probably, in the bird species, a lot of birds, the most beautiful sex of a lot of birds is males and not females. You think of the beauty of a peacock, that's a male peacock. Female peacocks don't have that huge plume. And, you think of the beautiful red cardinal with those sharp colors of red and that yellow beak and black coloring. That's the male. Female cardinals are boring. They're kind of brownish gray, no special coloring. They're not very attractive. And a lot of birds have to do certain things to attract a female to them. So there's a lot of birds that do dances. They have certain kinds of chirps to let the females know that they're interested in copulating. And I remember seeing this video of this bird doing a dance with his wings out, and I mean it's really quite entertaining. But to think this is all done to impress the female, who has to be choosy. Now that analogy of females being choosy extends to human beings as well. Evolutionary wise, females had to be choosy as to a mate. So let's say caveman days or something, or early parts of the beginning of indigenous bodies that lived here in the where the U.S. or Mexico is currently named. Females inherently knew that they needed to choose a mate that was healthy looking and usually burly, masculine looking, because in those days, if you're going back as far as like caveman days, you needed a male to be protecting you and themselves and any babies from predators. So you had to get a male that was big and strong and capable of doing these things. Scrawny cavemen didn't get any action because nobody wanted to have sex with them because they didn't look like they could be protective of the family, which is what one of the main interests of the mom is, the female. And that extends into today. Women often look for somebody who looks like they could protect them if there was a need to do that. But the term protection can be extended where somebody is willing to marry some scrawny guy if he's got money. Because if he's got money, he can have bodyguards, he can have somebody else do the protection. So it's okay to go with somebody who's more of a petite guy as long as there's a compensating factor. And women and men don't do this consciously. They don't sit and go, you girls get around a table and say, I would never date a guy that weighs 110 pounds. I couldn't do that, you know, I could have that. Generally, women don't do that, and men don't. Of course, a lot of men who's got 2 legs and 2 arms, they're on it, and they're not going to marry him, but you know, that's not what they're looking for. So there are some physical attributes that men look for evolutionary wise. They look for bodies that look like they could be childbearing, handle a 9-month pregnancy without physically failing. And so there are choices made at the animalistic level. As we progress through evolution, we're sort of less concerned about some of those attributes which help with furthering the species by having kids. Some people don't want children. Some people that's not something they're interested in. So obviously they're choosing mates based on other things than childbearing or somebody who's virile looking and can take care of business. If you go back to the animal kingdom, you think of things like deer and elk. And of course, deer and elk, unlike humans, they live communally. And he who is the biggest, baddest elk or deer is the one who gets the opportunity to impregnate the females. And all the rest of the males just have to sit there and go, oh, another season, I'm not getting anything because the big buck, if I try to have sex with a doe, the big buck's gonna rip me up and he's a hell of a lot bigger than I am. So I'll have to wait till I get bigger, stronger, and wait till he gets older and weaker. And then when that happens, then it's on. Then it's on. There's a term for that. It's called the rut. When these deer or elk and the females are coming into estrus. So again, they don't have sex when they want. They have sex when the female is beginning to ovulate. So there was an odor that goes out and the males get all crazy. And then they start looking for partners. and they may challenge the big buck in the communal lifestyle there, and they have a fight. And he who wins is the victor and gets to impregnate all the waiting does. And that's the way, that's a built-in evolutionary mechanism to help deer and elk continue as a species. Because if you have sickly, weak or sickly males impregnating females, then you might have weak and sickly children and they're going to die early, and that's not good. So you want the biggest, strongest, healthiest buck to be impregnated, and then the species can go on. And those species that don't live communally, if it's just you and them and somebody else, like the bird dancing, you can choose any male bird you want. So you're going to choose the one that's got the best little tune that he's tweeting out, or the best little dance, little fan dance with his feathers out, because that's what's attractive in that community. So if you're an ugly bird or a dirty bird, you don't get the action. So it's different in some animal species than in the human species, for sure. Okay. Kissing on the mouth is not universal. I think that's all I wanted to talk about on that page. There's a discussion about parts of the brain that do certain things. Let's talk about hormones, neurotransmitters. Certain naturally occurring brain substances called neurotransmitters are also known to influence sexual arousal and response by their effort on the MPOA, which is the medial preoptic area. One of these transmitter substances, dopamine, induces neural activity in the MPOA that facilitates sexual arousal and response in males to other species. So it's a visual thing. And the MPOA is a part of the brain that is, through vision, is stimulated by certain activities. And the production of certain neurotransmitters enhance what's going on in preparatory stages for sexual contact. In contrast to this dopamine, the neurotransmitter serotonin appears to inhibit sexual activity. Now, isn't that interesting for those of you who are psychology buffs? You know that dopamine is a neurotransmitter. And when we think of dopamine in the non-human sexuality realm, we usually are thinking about psychosis. Dopamine is associated with hallucinations in the brain. So when the dopamine level is bumped up, that's when people are seeing things, hearing things, tasting things, smelling things, feeling things that aren't really there, because they're in a psychotic state of mind. But less than psychotic, it's a good thing as far as sexual arousal. So when you hear somebody say, man, when she dresses like that, that drives me crazy. There's some truth to that. Not psychotic, but crazy and excitement. Where serotonin, which is associated with depression, it's a downer. Serotonin's a Debbie Downer. It's not, it's not going to make things good. If you're depressed and down, you're generally not interested in sex. That is a fact. And let's see what the bottom line is here. Well, I just happened to have taught this morning in my other class. This is interesting. Humans who suffer from depression are often provided antidepressant medications called SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. These drugs, whose effects is to increase serotonin levels in the brain, often interfere with sexual desire and response. Research has shown that SSRIs diminish genital sensitivity and reduce orgasmic capacity in both sexes. Collectively, these various findings provide strong evidence that dopamine facilitates sexual activity and activity in both men and women, whereas serotonin appears to provide an inhibitory effect. One is an agonist and the other is an antagonist, if you remember introduction to psychology or even biology, because it's the same term, agonist and antagonist. Agonist is something that supports, helps to push up things to happen, and antagonist, just like the word when somebody's bugging you, antagonizing you, they're frustrating you, they're throwing blocks in front of you, barriers in front of you, then that happens. Then, since we're talking about senses, here they're introducing the sense of touch. Stimulation of various skin surfaces, probably a more frequent source of human sexual arousal than any type of sensory stimulus. The nerve endings that respond to touch are distributed unevenly throughout the body, which explains why certain areas are more sensitive to others. These locations that are most responsive to tactile, that's touching, pleasuring, are called erogenous zones. So there are areas of your body that are very sensitive to touch, and there are others that are not. When I teach introduction to psychology and we talk about sensory nerves and where they are distributed, sensory receptors throughout your body, they are heavily present in parts of your body that you need to survive. So back when I used to have hair, I could pull out a hair and demonstrate in class, go find somebody that had a sleeveless blouse on and take the hair. My cat is tapping me, whatever. I felt you, cat. That was very good timing, Emmy. You take the hair and you brush it across the, I don't think I can get it high enough here to demonstrate. Like, take a hair and drag it across somebody's, don't have them look, because if they look, they'll confound the situation. Have them look the other way, take a hair, go across the shoulder, top of the arm, and you ask them, did you feel that? Answer, no. So then you do it again, except this time, can't get up there. This time maybe you'll do it around the elbow, this area. No, not gonna feel it. Maybe here, maybe not, depending how sensitive you are. But certainly the closer you get to your hand is when they're aware of it. Another demonstration of that is in one of my bags here. I have a tool that measures, and it's got 2 points on it. So I'm not going to go look for that. So I'll just use, probably don't have pencils that have ends on it. Maybe I do. Oh, I do. Great. Okay. Demonstrations at home. Okay, here are 2 pencils. Where's my camera? Hello? Camera does not want to show you my 2 pencils. Well, that really is magic. Okay, there you are. 2 pencils, right? And they both have points on them until they disappear. Okay, you take these 2 points and you do the same exercise I just did. You put them so that they're flat, and on the shoulder, you gently touch and you say, did you feel that? Oh yeah, I felt it. What did you feel? Oh, I felt the point, sticking on me. Okay. And so as you go down the arm here, what do you feel? Same thing. What do you feel? Same thing. What do you feel? Oh, now I'm here. I feel 2 points. And the reason you can't feel 2 points up here is because you don't have a lot of sensory receptors up here, because you don't need to. Why do you have so many sensory receptors near your hand and, of course, on your hand? Why is that true? What do your hands do for you? Everything. If you had no hands, you would be in a world of hurt. Your hands do everything. I just scratch my nose, itch my nose because it's not COVID. It's allergy season. My nose itches. Okay? Adjust your glasses. Everything. Your hands for survival are extremely important. So if you're playing with a knife and you push it too hard and you almost break the surface of your skin, you're really going to feel that, and you're going to avoid that problem because you don't want any harm done to your fingers. Well, where else do you have a lot of sensory receptors? In your face, that hair that I told you about, if you take it and stroke it against somebody's face, bam, they will immediately feel it. Why? Because your face has millions of sensory receptors. Why? Because you don't want something to poke out your eye. So if you're walking and there's a tree branch and it starts to poke you here, you're going to immediately respond and pull out of the way because it could be moving towards your eye. If you lose an eye, it's going to be more difficult to survive. If you puncture an eardrum, more difficult to survive. If you jab or stab your nose, problems, your mouth, problems. So all this area of your face and your hands are innervated with a bunch of receptors. And since this is human sexuality, I always say, where else on your body do you have a bunch of sensory receptors? Answer, I'm not going to do a Jeffrey Toobin and show you, because I actually have my pants on, your genitals are extremely sensitive. Why is that? For survival? Absolutely. If your penis can't find the hole, right one, for procreation to create children, then you're not going to have children and the species is going to die out. So you have all this sensitivity on the male side and the female side to get reproduction done. Now, we as humans, we're smart. We know that we can stimulate sexual organs and have a great time, and it doesn't have anything to do with reproduction. But animals don't always participate in sexual stimulation unless it's specifically during time that the female is sexually receptive, because they're having their ovulation, and the males know it. The males know it because there's a color, there's an odor, there's an act, and some of it talk about driving people crazy. I wish I could find it. I have to look for this video. It's so, I probably can't find it, but I should have kept it. It was horses. Horses are so violent about having intercourse that they can harm each other. So when you're in the horse business, you almost never let them naturally copulate and create offspring. You mechanically produce the male to produce sperm, and then that is artificially inserted into the female, because the act of having sex with a male horse with a female horse can actually harm them or even kill them. And if you're using something like specific breeds that you're using for racing or pulling farm work, you can't afford to have these animals killed. And this video that I was remembering was this horse that got the scent, because horses have a scent when the female is ready and interested in being impregnated, and the male horses go crazy. You cannot keep them anywhere near each other because they will kick down barns, they will knock you down, they will do everything. And that's what happened in this video. This mare was in estrus, and the male could smell it, and it was busting butt to get to this female. And so the handlers are trying to stop the horse from jumping around and stuff. And the horse gets away, jumps over the fence, and goes towards the female. And with one kick, the female kicks him in the head and kills him. So if that was a stud racehorse with a pedigree breed that has won the Triple Crown, or one of the portions of the Triple Crown, there goes your multi-million-dollar investment, because the female killed the male by a swift kick to the head. Anyway, long story to tell you, females have a long history of being choosy, because they only have a certain number of eggs. Most species only have a certain number of eggs. And the males, especially like in humans, we have unlimited number of sexual cells, gametes, sperm cells. I mean, every time an ejaculation occurs, there are millions and millions and millions produced. For a woman, usually one. Sometimes there are two, but that's not normal. And when they both get impregnated, then they have fraternal twins or more. Secondary erogenous zones include virtually all other regions of the body aside from the primary erogenous zones. These zones become erotic through sexual conditioning. For example, if your partner seductively kisses and strokes your upper back each time you're about to have sex, there's an association being made. This area could be transformed into a secondary erogenous zone. Such secondary locations become eroticized because they are touched within the context of sexual interaction. You know, there's the old story that Eskimos, rub noses together. I don't know if that's true or not. I think it's probably not, but if that's a prelude to sex, then it's setting the mindset to sexual performance. And with humans, there's a lot to setting the stage. We'll talk a little more about, you probably heard the term oxytocin. Oxytocin as the sex hormone. That when oxytocin is presented in the body because of visual, any of your five senses, then that's a prelude to sex. So they call it the sex hormone. But really what it is, it's a prelude to setting the table for sex. Because the body starts thinking about having sex when oxytocin is introduced, because oxytocin is a natural forming hormone or neurotransmitter, depending where it's produced, and it makes you feel more loving and desirous. So oxytocin is actually used for women who don't feel close to their children, their babies. Just like they're not really bonding well. They don't feel that motherly drive. They actually can be treated with oxytocin. There's a nasal spray at your nose. It goes directly into your bloodstream. And then you get that loving, wanting, let me hold and hug and kiss and all that stuff. Except in this case, they're talking about taking care of their children. But the same would happen if you had your partner there and you were hugging and kissing on them. So there are chemical reactions. Now, one of your videos I posted by Dr. Clarissa Sanderbaum, I think her last name is. I always call her Dr. K. You should watch that video. It's interesting on a number of levels that I don't want to reveal too much to you, except it's extremely entertaining. And it is revealing just a very good video, let's put it that way. That's, I can't remember what I posted under. I think it's something like, when do you know you're in love? She's a geneticist, and as a geneticist, she's interested in how genes, what happens to your body when you have these love attractions. And it's a really good video. And then there's some stuff going on in the background, which once you see it, you'll know. Vision is one of our five senses. I think we just mentioned that vision can play a big role. Erotically some of the most erotic things occur through visual perceptions, like certain dances. One of my friends here in town runs a dance studio. She and her mother are professional dancers, and they're belly dancers, and they do their trade. They teach others to dance and get exercise and all this stuff. And they've been all around the world and belly danced in a lot of countries. So they're kind of famous for El Chuco town here. And I don't know about you, but when you watch belly dancing, it could be very erotic. It's like really stimulating. And it's not something in our culture, we don't do that much belly dancing in public unless somebody like my friend who does it. People hire her or her mother to dance at like wedding receptions or pre-wedding activities and stuff. So birthdays, they do a lot of stuff. And a lot, the one sense that we get our most information from is our eyes. So it should be no surprise that visual information can be the most exciting. But you can't leave out things like smell, which I think is next, yes. Odors, I already mentioned pheromones, which is produced by your body, and you can perceive other people's pheromones, which can be very exciting to you. But then there's all the smells that have been associated with sex. For instance, if you have a particular perfume or cologne or an odor that you use when you're preparing to have sex, like a certain incense or essential oil smell or something, those associations, it's all in the brain going, oh, I know what that smell means. I know what that means. Anything's like this. Hey, how about we do Netflix and dinner tonight? That could be code for sex. Put on a movie, maybe watch the movie, maybe not, maybe just have sex while the movie's running on. But if that's a routine of yours, it sets the table. Other things set the table, of course, is what you wear. If you come home and from work and your partner greets you at the door in a G-string or something, it's a pretty strong message what they're interested in. So the environment can set the stage for your sexual preparedness and for your excitement. Let's talk about smell. The number of studies indicate that there are sites in the human noses can detect and respond to pheromones. Females of many species secrete certain substances called pheromones. And like I said, horses do, and then the males go crazy. Using functional MRIs and PET, which are positron emission tomography, brain scans, scientists found that exposure to pheromones, which is extratetranol, EST, activated the hypothalamus of heterosexual men, but not heterosexual women. Whereas smelling and activated this brain structure in women, but not men. One additional finding of interest in this study is that the brains of gay men, when scanned, their hypothalamuses responded to AND and EST in a similar way to those of the heterosexual female subjects. AND, of course, I should have explained, is androsterone, which is male hormones. Androstenedione. So, or what do they call it? AND. So AND is the kind of odor that males would produce, and EST are the kind of odors that females produce. And then it's interesting because you can take a look at this by doing scanning, advanced scanning, and you find that the brains of gay men, their hypothalamuses responded to androgyny, AND, and EST. So these are animal responses. You can't tell yourself to be sexually stimulated by and aroused by an odor. You either are or you don't. Now you can put the two things together. If you like, let's say a back rub as a prelude to sex, and the oil that you use to give the back rub has a cinnamon smell to it, then you're going to make behavioral modification. You're going to make an association between that smell of cinnamon and sexual activity, because that's the way you and your partner have sex as a prelude to sex. Other people, Netflix and a movie, honey, that's your prelude to sex. All right, so fun. We got your money's worth today in an hour and 22-minute lecture on sexual stimulation. So let's see. By the way, I'm just looking at this graph, table 6.1, some alleged aphrodisiacs and their effects. Aphrodisiacs are things that are supposed to drive somebody's sexual drive up. To date, there are no known aphrodisiacs. All the things about Spanish fly and this and that and the other thing, none of it does. The only one that actually has promise of that is the female Viagra. And I can't remember whether she mentions it in this chapter or not. I think they do, but if not, we'll talk a little bit about it. There's a female drug that was designed to try to increase females' sexual desire, because some females, because of their genetic makeup and their the way they've made associations, either their physical makeup or their mental, or combination of the two, they don't get sexually aroused very easily, and they don't seem to desire sex. And of course, that can be devastating to women, because they know that people expect them to want sex, but they're not really interested in it. So I'm blocking on the name of it. Allie or something, I think is the name of it. But anyway, I'll look it up. We'll talk about it. That's the only one. Remember, Viagra does not increase men's desire to have sex. Viagra is a physical, we just studied male anatomy. Engorging the spongy tissue in the penis is what gives you an erection and the mental side of desire to have sex. So it does. It's a physical thing. It's not. It does allow you to have an erection, but the erection itself does not drive you to want to have sex. So it doesn't. Now, if it works at all in that area, it might work in the sense that if you take the little blue pill or the yellow pill, whichever color it is, the white pill, it might build your confidence as a male that you're going to get an erection and it's going to be a positive thing for your sexual life and not a deflated, literally and figuratively, a deflated interaction in sexuality. But that's not really driving you to have sex. It's just giving you more confidence. So maybe you're more willing to get involved in sex because you know you're going to have an erection. But the drug for women, the pink pill, does work directly on driving interest in sex for those women who don't naturally have an interest in having sex. Okay, well, stop here. I think I already asked you, was it just Alexandra and Caitlin? I already asked you whether most of you, well, I don't know, Caitlin, I don't think you've taken the test yet, right?
No, not yet. I'm gonna take it today.
Do you have any questions or are you good with the study guide? You're good to go?
I think I might have one question that I was kind of iffy about.
Okay,
It was chapter 5, number 1.
if I still have those up here or not. I don't rightly know. There, oh yeah, I do. Which one?
I think it's gender, but I'm not sure.
Which
Or
number?
sex.
Which
Number 1.
Oh,
Number 1.
yeah, it's gender. What is the
Okay.
term for psychosocial concept of maleness? What makes me a male? What makes you a female? It's gender. That is determined by society.
And then the same one, but same chapter, but number 6.
Okay, chapter 5, number 6 says, when we
Yeah.
meet someone new and identify them as a man or a woman, we expect them to behave in certain ways. This is an illustration of the same thing, gender roles.
General.
Oh, I'm sorry, gender assumptions. You're assuming gender roles, so the answer they're looking for is gender assumptions.
Okay, because I didn't know, because like I put like a little star next to
Yeah.
gender roles, because that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, me too, until I read it. I always misread it, damn, but I can't even get an A. I mean, I can get an A on my test. I just can't get 100% because I don't read the question right. So this is kind of asking you what, you assume these roles based on
Yeah.
sex.
Both sexes produce so-called male sex hormones and female sex hormones, period. The men, the test.
What was it? What was the question?
No, I'm sorry. I'm taking notes. My bad.
Oh, you're reading it out loud while you're making notes.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's all right. We do that. That's a better way of remembering it. You're reading it and you're repeating it. Yeah. That's using more than one of your senses, and that increases the chances that you're going to remember it. So that's a good habit. Say out loud. What does the term philia refer to? Oh, it refers to a concern for others' well-being. Okay. We'll hopefully get through chapter 7. Whoops, on chapter 6 first. Got out of order here. Yeah, chapter 6 and chapter 7. And we have 4 days this week instead of 5 because of.
I want to just say something. I printed out chapters 6 study guide, and some of them came with answers.
Oh, that's because your instructor didn't discriminate. See, I have to go in and take all the answers out when I make that, so that's an error.
Well, too late.
Yeah,
I already got them.
that's right. Right, the early bird
Yeah.
gets the answers. It's no big deal. Okay, thanks for letting me know.
You're welcome.
All right. Alexandra,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you for
Yes, sir.
checking in.
Thank you.
Thank you for checking in, Caitlin. Always a pleasure. We'll see you all tomorrow. Good luck on your exam, Caitlin.
Thank
Maybe-
you.
Maybe Alexander can help you with some difficult questions. Who knows? All right. Well, this is all recorded, so it'll be available for those who are watching this. Okay. Thanks for checking in, guys. I appreciate it greatly. See ya.
Yeah.
Mañana.